Like everyone, extensive coverage of the COVID-19 as numbers continue to rise. We start here. The Sawa Police Minister, General Bheki Cele, has warned there will be no negotiating with those holding gatherings of more than 100 people or shebeens and pubs selling alcohol beyond 6 p.m. to more than the regulated 50 people. The regulations effective immediately, explaining when people will be committing offences or will be liable for penalty under the state of national disaster. Minister Cele now joins us to tell us a little bit more. Ndosi, it's good to have you with us.
Well, it could be better, but it's okay.
It could be better at 6:30. We know that officially now all pubs, shebeens and taverns are closed. What does the enforcement of this regulation actually look like?
Well, let's explain closed. So taverns, your restaurant, would shut down on alcohol. That stops selling at 6. People, they seem to be shying away from the starting time. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. So if you can't drink anywhere before 9 and you end at 6. Yeah. But people will continue to eat on those places like restaurants, like taverns where there are shisha nyama and all that, but with no drop of liquor on the table. Even if you have ordered at 5 to 6, as 6 comes, you shut down, you shut your bottle and you take it home.
So there's a question from a gentleman, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's been doing rounds on social media. And I think it's a question for you.
Okay.
The gentleman asked, Kanti le corona iqala masekshoni langa?
It's the second time I received that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the second time. The issue here is a behavior of the human beings. Up to this point, Minister Mkhize time and again has said, we don't have any medicine at the present moment. No vaccine. I'm told one mayor said there's a vaccine. There is no vaccine for this thing. Scientists are busy in the country. It might be anything up to 18 months. It could be earlier. So the best medicine is prevention, is the behavior. I believe this distance between you and me here is a good distance as we are seated here. And as I sneeze and cough, things to do to block and all that, wash hands no matter how many times you do on that, but also you keep the mind of not coming close. So if you go to be in the alcohol setup, all those guards will go down for you. Yeah. Indeed, during the day, people can drink, but definitely they behave much better during that time as they behave in the club. I think I've seen one social media people jiving with their hands and shouting Corolla, Corolla, and mixing, and not just 10 meters, not 10 meters, 10 centimeters away and all that kind of thing.
So certainly very irresponsible behavior certainly comes out of it. And I know a lot of the focus has been on the taverns because people have been quite concerned about you shutting down their drinking halls. But us people of the church, we're worried about places of worship. As we speak right now, it had to take a court interdict for the church to actually disperse. Is that what it's going to take?
I think it was irresponsible for the church in Katlehong to do that. Thanks to the health department in Gauteng to do that. Because if they didn't do that, police would still come. And we would have been much tougher than going to court. The regulations are very clear. Not more than 100 people. The regulations are very clear. We disperse those people. Any way legally we disperse them. But we don't disperse organizers. We arrest organizers. We detain them, we take to court, and it's also clear to say we are facing 6 months in prison or fine or both. Yeah. It is in regulations. So I would say that was an individual irresponsible church. President met a lot of churches yesterday. Everybody said, Mr. President, we understand it's painful. This is our epic time to go and praise God, but we understand. That's one. But two.
But there are those in your own province, KZN, where you come from, that have said, we are not going to listen to that.
Not only that, today we were ready in Lenasia, in number 99 Herbeck Street Avenue. We were ready. Somebody who issued a pamphlet to say we'll go there and invited people to be more than 100. We were there. We entered the church. We counted them. There were 67, so they could continue and all that. the KZN, that certain Mr. Ngobo there, we are ready for him. He must just wait for the time. Either he comply or we push him. Can't be any way. This is a law of the land and it must be respected. If you don't respect the law, you are sending us to section 205 of the Constitution of the land, which is the responsibility of the police of South Africa to enforce the law. That's what the Constitution instructs us to do.
Maybe there's a misunderstanding of the state of national disaster, because people would say, well, we've got a right of gathering and we've got a right of worship.
Well, immediately President declares that, and the state of the disaster, it limits your rights. Lamula reads it very well. Someone says chapter 36 or all that, those are the codes, the law. It limits your right because your rights cannot infringe on the rest of the people. So your rights are limited so that they fit in the health and rights of other people. Indeed, people will still worship, less than 100. These are the things we would have loved not to happen. But under circumstances, will happen. I want to make one point. Many South Africans, they are hitting these calls. It's not all South Africans. Actually, there are few, including people that are running those water holes we're talking about, the shippings. I listened to them when they were interviewed, some of them, saying it's difficult, it gives us difficult economic times, but we'll respect. We expect that many South Africans will respect these regulations without enforcement. But it's not a promise. Yes. It's what is going to happen, that if you don't, we'll push you to do it.
There's another component to this flattening of the curve is, of course, you identify, you isolate, but there is a tracing that comes with this. Now, earlier on, you alluded to some kind of a register that restaurants will be able to keep. How is that going to work, and who's going to monitor that register? How is it going to be kept?
If you... To start with, tracing is a responsibility of health workers. Those people are trained, they are there, they're tracing. We're tracing about plus or minus 2,000 people now that are in the contacts with the people that have been discovered to be sick. But police, they are standby that whoever breaks the law, you have been discovered that you are sick, but you don't want to quarantine, you don't want to cooperate, police will pounce on you. You are breaking the law. The regulations are very clear on that enforceability of you doing that. But it also, the regulations, they go beyond on the mentioned things. It gives the authority of this, who issues the authority on some different things that are not mentioned on the regulations. The Minister of Police is number 4, having that authority to issue authority. The one that we have issued, that authority, is to say for the taverns and restaurants to be able to function, they will have to register the people among 50 that are there, so that if it is discovered that Thabo or Peggy were there during that time, we can be able to trace the rest of the people that were together with them. By the way, this 50 is with the staff. It's 50 warm bodies. It's not 50 patrons. Yeah. So that must be very clear and well understood.
And so is that going to then reside with the police, that particular register? Or does it stay with the Department of Health? Or does it stay at the restaurant facility?
We will be doing spot checks on these things. There was a big halapalu about spotters. Yeah. That question from your clan, I think it was asked 4 times. Yeah. Who are these spotters? Yeah. What are they dressing and all that?
What are they trained to do, and how are they able to spot all that?
Let me say, These are the police, most of them, from different units of police, including a reservist. So are not just people out there that you would not know. Their job is to spot you if you are out of order, if you are serving alcohol after 6, if you don't shut alcohol after 6. And we have already established responsive teams of the South African police that they will tell that so-and-so here is still not dry, so-and-so here is still drinking his or her things, and those police will pounce on that. But those people are not going to be people that be visible. Sometimes it can happen that they are visible, but most of the time they won't be visible.
Now, of course, earlier on, you mentioned that things can actually be worse than this. This is an interim measure to see how South Africans respond. And if they behave and we see a decline in this curve, of course you will maintain the situation. But measures can be even more severe.
Well, it's not my call. It's a call of the Command Council that is chaired by the President. Of course, most of us will sit there. Of course, most of us will advise the President. That's why I'll make a clarion call to the South Africans out there that this is a best west if there is anything like that. It could go beyond what you see. So let's make what is there now work. But looking at the figures, Thabo, one begins to look at the present situation with a jaundiced eye, that anything can happen. When we were 116 yesterday, we're 202 today. It tells you that it's beginning to gallop. So the methods and the ways to be used, they need to be pumped up a little bit. So anything can happen, but it's not my call. That's a presidential call. What I can say, what you see today, people complaining about Chipins closing at 6 and all that, that will be Sunday. That will be Sunday picnic. The real stuff will be, because the next thing that could be done is called the state of emergency.
Right.
One major thing with the state of emergency, soldiers take over.
Minister, let me thank you for your time. Thanks for coming through.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Bheki Cele, Minister of Police.